Hey guys, so I made a cup of tea in my like super cute like hummingbird and flower printed like Cath Kidston mug, which is one of my favorite mugs. And I started making a video about like finals and stress and like how to deal with that, and then I realized that I wasn't really making any coherent sense and it was just like a bunch of like aimless non-directed rambling, so I figured maybe I would just talk about something else. Also, God, I need to stop swinging in this desk chair because like I watch it in the camera and it really annoys me, so I'm gonna try and sit in a way in which I won't do that. That's not gonna work. Okay, I'm just gonna force myself to not do it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe like my classes and how they're going. The semester is almost over as I'm filming this. There are 2 weeks left of classes and then finals. And I'm not sure how long finals are. I'm just gonna so I have week 12 and week 13 left of the semester. So classes end on the 2nd of December. And I have a full week of nothing, but, you know, frantic studying, of course. Then I have an exam on the 12th, the 16th, and the 19th, and then I'm done. So pretty much like 4 weeks now. And then it's all over, which is a little bit crazy, and there's, you know, it's like the last month, but yet it's the busiest month with the most amount of work, and I'm feeling a little bit stressed about it. So I'm gonna keep this open to like remind me, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about my classes and how they're going in case I forget which classes I'm taking. I'll start with Canadian politics. When I first made the video about like what classes I'm taking this semester, I'm pretty sure I was like, I don't really like this class, like it's interesting, but I don't enjoy my discussion groups. I have completely turned around from that. I think it's my favorite class. The professor is amazing. He gets better every single lecture. He's so smart, and I just like love hearing him talk about politics. I'm learning so much about the Canadian government and our political system, and it's incredible. I like sort of want to like do an entire degree in political science now, and I'm like really upset that I can't. So there's that. So I'm loving this class, and our discussion groups have gotten so good. Like my TA is the best. She's so smart and like so like on top of her game. I like aspire to be like her. And basically the entire class is just super interesting. We've done like a mini baby paper, a short paper, and then ahead of us we have a term paper and a final exam, and then our like participation in the discussion group counts for a percentage of our grade as well. So I'm sort of enjoying the term paper at the moment. It's not too long, it's like 8 pages, and I'm writing on the role of media in Canadian federal elections. If I can find enough like sources, I might focus it on the 2015 federal election, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to find enough like academic sources because it just happened. So we'll see where that goes, but it's a good paper. Like I'm enjoying writing about it and researching it. So I'm drinking Earl Grey tea. As a side note, Earl Grey was an actual person. Did you know that? Because I did not know that. I learned that in a class the other week. He was like a legitimate actual person. I'm not sure if there were more than one, like there probably were, but one of them was the Governor General of Canada. So it's a fun fact for you. Whenever anybody mentions Earl Grey tea, you can be like, did you know there was a Governor General of Canada who was called Earl Grey? So that was a complete like non sequitur and is apropos of nothing, so never mind. Canadian history is still a class that I wish I wasn't taking. However, I confess that I have enjoyed learning more about Canada's history. It is a lot more interesting in university than it was in high school, and I feel like in high school and like elementary school and stuff, all you learn about in Canadian history is the fur trade, which is like cool like once, maybe twice. Certainly by the 3rd time you're like, I don't care about this anymore. So I learned a lot about Canadian history that I didn't know about. For example, like slavery on Prince Edward Island, or like how we got the Canadian flag, which incidentally like wasn't until like 1965 or something. Like our flag is really new. So it's good. It's my discussion groups are really good as well. Basically, I think I said this in the other video, but like we read 2 articles every week and then we just like discuss and debate the merits and like weaknesses of each one. So it's a pretty easy discussion group as long as you've done the readings. And we have upcoming in this class a term paper and a final. For my term paper, I'm writing on like the Cold War in Canada, specifically with regards to how it affected like family life. So I've done some like cool research on like women, like the role of women in disarmament, and like there was like a huge like weird craze with teenagers where like all these like adults were like, you shouldn't read comic books, like it's gonna make you a communist. I mean, like that's massively oversimplifying it, but they were like really worried about like the teenage like sexual liberation and comic books and like mass media. So it's kind of a cool thing to look back, because especially considering it wasn't that long ago, and see like what effect this like idea of the Cold War had on just like the average Canadian family. So yeah, the class has improved. Still not my favorite, but it's improved. Modern American history, post-war American history is it's a really good class. It's like kind of killing me at the moment because I have a paper due in like a week and a half. It's like our massive term paper. And then there's a final. It's like a consistent theme of my life, like term paper and then final. And it's, how many pages is it? 10? And it's worth 35% regret. I just like have it on my sticky note, like up on my wall. And I do not have a solidified topic. So like that's a little bit stressful. I've like bounced around 14,000 times. I originally wanted to do like espionage in the Cold War, and then they were like, that's too broad. So I was like, women in espionage in the Cold War. And it turns out like that's super narrow and there's just like not really enough research on it. So then I started like doing some more like really general research and just was like, the 1968 Democratic National Convention. So I think I've settled on that. And like Nixon and what's his face? Humphrey. But like, and like the Chicago riots and everything. But like, I don't really know where I'm going with it. So, as in like I've currently written like a grand total of 0 words. But I have read the 1968 Democratic Party platform, so like I'm moving in the right direction. Modern Chinese history is actually almost potentially killing me more than American history right now. So we recently just handed in our big term paper, which was 12 pages. I wrote on the Beijing Olympics. I had a lot of fun writing it. I hope that that translates into like a good grade. Otherwise, the fun I had writing it is like pointless and irrelevant. If I get like a C on it, I'm just gonna be like sad. However, it's a really good class. It's really good. However, we are very behind in the syllabus. We're currently at about like 1953. We started in the 1890s. So we have progressed 6 decades in 11 weeks. Which is not necessarily a particularly fast pace, considering we're meant to be up at the present by the end of the class. We have 3 classes left, like 3 teaching classes left. So we will not make it to the end of now. Like we will not make it to the 21st century. I'm sort of doubtful that we'll even get through the end of the 20th century, but you know, fingers crossed. Also, what's killing me in this class? The very last class of the semester for this class is when we're writing our final exam. So instead of scheduling the final exam during finals period, like every other professor, we are writing it as an in-class exam. Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, except for the fact that I now have to, like, write a final exam in less than 2 weeks, which is, like, a week and a half before all of my other finals. So I'm like not really in finals mode right now because the same week that I'm writing that final exam in class, I have 3 term papers due. So why? He's a really good professor and the class is really good, but like, why are we doing this? Why are we writing a final exam in the last week of the semester? Why? I'd rather write it on the very last day of exam period. And write it on the 21st of December at 7 o'clock in the evening. Or write it at like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Like I don't want to write it during the semester when I have papers due. Like practically every day. So that's how I feel about that right now. Then my last class is like, what's it called? Diplomacy and Conflict in the Modern Middle East or something. Contemporary History of the Middle East. Something or other like that, which is really good. Like, the subject material is so interesting, and I like the professor so much that I'm taking a class with him next semester called like American Foreign Relations post 1945, which I feel like ties nicely in with the post 1945 US history class I took this semester. So hopefully I'll be coming into it with a little bit more of like a base knowledge. Yeah, we have no term paper because he's nice. We have a final that's like a take-home final, so I feel okay about that. I'll have a better idea of how I feel about it once he like releases the questions. But his like we did a take-home midterm as well, and the way his take-home exams work is like you don't have to do any outside research. You're like not expected to at all. You just like use all of the sources we've done in class. So it's exactly as if we were writing an essay in his class. We're just not, which like actually I'm happy with. I don't like take-home finals when they end up being more work than an actual final exam, but when a take-home final actually has a benefit, like in this case, I'm okay with that. So, and our discussion groups has gotten really good. I think I've also gotten a lot like more confident at sharing my opinion, and we just like are like gelling quite a bit as a discussion group, which is good in my opinion. So yeah, I think those are all of my classes. I'm pretty sure that was 5. I'm like a little bit stressed, just a little bit, but it's more just like the realization that like from now until the 2nd of December I have no life, so it'll be like 2 weeks of complete hell, and then I'm planning on giving myself the weekend after like the semester ends, like the 3rd and 4th of December, completely off, and maybe even the Monday, like completely off to do absolutely nothing but like watch like season 4 of Gilmore Girls on Netflix, which is what I'm currently watching. Like, so it's basically gonna be like 2 weeks of hell, 2 or 3 days of relaxation, and then what is it gonna be? So if I give myself these 2 days off, and I have 1, 2, and then I'll have like exactly 2 weeks of work again. So I think that's like a fair trade-off. I feel like I cannot get through the next month if it just seems like 4 straight weeks of hell. So 2 rough weeks, a weekend off, and 2 rough weeks. And I've also taken this weekend off. I did like an hour and a half of work yesterday, which was Saturday, in the morning, writing a couple papers, and then I was just like, fuck it. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. And then I was like, oh, never mind. That's nicer. So I'm gonna end this here, because I'm actually in line with me taking this weekend off from schoolwork. I'm gonna go see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them with my sister. So yeah, it's really weird actually. I like don't really have a social life during the semester, but I've like nicely managed to put several things into my schedule this semester that are like fun and involve me like leaving campus and doing something that's unrelated to school, because, and like grocery shopping doesn't count. I used to try and kid myself and be like, oh, like going to Whole Foods is like a fun activity. It doesn't count. Like, it doesn't count at all. It's not like, no, you're just fooling yourself. Also, in exciting news, I made bliss balls last night, so I'm like quite pleased with that. But yeah, that is an update on my classes and my current workload, my current level of stress, which is, you know, it could be worse, is what I just keep telling myself. Like, everything could be a lot worse. And then I have 2 weeks of Christmas vacation, and then it's like the first couple weeks of a new semester are like the chill, sort of like calm before the storm. So I really probably have like a month of like everything is okay after this next month. So we just have to get through it all. and then it'll all be fine. So for those of you who are also in university, I hope that your semesters are wrapping up nicely. I hope your exams are scheduled not too close together, but also not at the end of your finals period, because that's mean and unkind and unfair of the universe. So good luck with the rest of the semester. Eventually it'll be over.